The FBI now giving more details about its two previous interactions, or investigations, I should say, with Omar Mateen. Listen to this.
The FBI first became aware of Mateen in 2013 when he made inflammatory comments to coworkers alleging possible terrorist ties. The FBI thoroughly investigated the matter, including interviews of witnesses, physical surveillance, and records checks. In the course of the investigation, Mateen was interviewed twice. Ultimately, we were unable to verify the substance of his comments, and the investigation was closed. In 2014, Mateen again came to the attention of the FBI because of possible ties to Monar Abu Salah, an American suicide bomber. The FBI conducted an investigation, including an interview with Mateen. We determined that contact was minimal and did not constitute a substantive relationship or a threat at that time.
Though we are reporting that that meeting was a face-to-face meeting with that homicide bomber. Joining me now is Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and also a Fox News contributor. We are glad that you're here today. House Speaker Paul Ryan just recently tweeted out that we are, quote, a nation at war with Islamist terrorists. Is this a new normal?
Well, I think it has been for the past 15 years, at least since the attacks on 9/11. The problem is Barack Obama and his administration, for its entire length in office, have not been at war with Islam. They have tried to treat this solely as a law enforcement matter, not as a struggle with an ideology that despises our entire way of life.
Yet we did hear from the president fairly early on today when he said it was an act of terrorism. He didn't say radical Islam, which has frustrated some people, but an act of terrorism. Is that something?
Look, words only are words. The real question is, what does Barack Obama do? And frankly, even if he said radical Islamic terrorism, it wouldn't change any of his policies. The fact is, this is war and not law enforcement. This attack is not the equivalent of a jumped-up attack on the corner grocery store. This is an act of war against the United States. Obama has never acted in response that way.
So we have less than a year before we have a new president sitting in the White House. How should that person, whoever it is, whether it's Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, whoever, handle this situation going forward? You have said some things about, maybe that we should go back to a George Bush-style approach where we take them out there so we don't have to fight them over here.
Well, the first thing you have to do is understand that you're fighting an ideology. Forget the magic words. You can make up 6 different words if you want. It's an ideology that despises our way of life. And the way to defeat it is to defeat it militarily in the places that it exists. The president himself says his objective is ultimately to destroy ISIS. The problem is he's not doing it. And as long as ISIS can maintain stable bases of operation, these terrorist attacks will continue. This is not cost-free to leave ISIS out there.
So what's the solution then? I mean, we've got airstrikes going on in Iraq and Syria. We've got some people on the ground. Should we put more boots on the ground? What's the solution here?
You need a solution to destroy the ISIS, the control over the territory that it now has in Iraq and Syria. But while we have fiddled around, while we've pursued this lackadaisical strategy, ISIS has spread into North Africa, into Yemen, into Pakistan, really moving around the world. Every day that Barack Obama delays and doesn't treat it seriously is a day that makes it worse down the road.
You know, you talk about the ideology. We can't change the ideology. We can take out some bad guys, but we can't change their mindset.
An argument, yeah, that's an argument that said you can't fight Nazism. You can't fight communism. Of course you can. And when these people are using their ideology to attack us, the response is very clear, except to the President of the United States.
Well, in World War II, 50 million people died as a result of World War II.
And how many more victims of terrorism will there be before Barack Obama gets serious?
That's what I'm wondering. Where does this go from here? If we can't change that ideology and mindset, you suggest that we can. I certainly hope that we can. I'm just not sure how we go about doing that.
Politically and militarily. First, you have to understand and believe...
But that sounds like hearts and minds. Is it hearts and minds?
No, look, first you have to believe there is an ideology. The president doesn't believe that. He believes these are isolated acts. It's a low-grade infection that will continue for a long time. I think he's fundamentally wrong on that.
But he's on his way out. For the next person sitting in the Oval Office, how do they handle that?
I think they need to go back to putting a priority on the global war against terrorism and to understand that to defeat it, you have to find allies in the Islamic world that understand what a threat it is to them, and there are plenty of them out there, and you have to be straight with the American people. When you see an act of war like this committed against us, don't tell me about gun control. Tell me about how we're going to defeat the people who are motivating these terrorists to kill innocent Americans on our own soil to begin with.
I'm wondering if, as a nation, we're willing to accept that. We didn't after San Bernardino.
The American people are way ahead of their political leaders, and the political leader who figures that out could be the next president.
Ambassador John Bolton, thank you so much for joining us today. We always appreciate your expertise. He's got an op-ed he's written on our website today, foxnews.com. Thank you, sir.